Humans have a terrifying capacity for cruelty, often triggered by authority, social pressure, or fear. Classic psychological experiments, like Stanley Milgram's obedience study, revealed that ordinary individuals can inflict extreme pain on others if instructed, even when it conflicted with their morals. People may suppress empathy, rationalizing harmful actions as following orders. The dark side of human psychology is that situational and environmental factors can override innate moral principles. In everyday life, this can manifest as workplace bullying, mob behavior, or compliance in oppressive systems. This tendency shows that evil isn't always rooted in pathology. Sometimes ordinary people, under specific conditions, commit acts that shock conscience. Understanding this helps explain historical atrocities and modern incidents where individuals participate in collective cruelty, highlighting that morality is fragile and easily influenced by context. Recognizing this dark truth is uncomfortable, but essential to preventing manipulation and maintaining ethical vigilance. The bystander effect describes a disturbing human tendency to ignore emergencies when others are present. In situations where someone needs urgent help, responsibility is diffused across the crowd, causing many witnesses to do nothing. Classic cases include the murder of Kitty Genovese, where numerous neighbors reportedly failed to intervene. Psychologists explain this as social proof and diffusion of responsibility. People assume someone else will act or fear social judgment if they intervene incorrectly. This illustrates a darker truth: human empathy isn't always reliable, especially in groups. Despite moral instincts, the social context can suppress action. In extreme cases, life-threatening situations may unfold while multiple people passively watch. Understanding the bystander effect is critical for fostering individual responsibility and awareness, revealing that humans can be alarmingly passive, even when others' lives are at risk. It's a stark reminder that moral courage often requires conscious effort against ingrained psychological tendencies. Cognitive dissonance occurs when humans experience mental discomfort due to conflicting beliefs or actions. To reduce this tension, the mind rationalizes immoral or harmful behavior. For example, someone may cheat or lie and internally justify it as necessary, deserved, or harmless. This psychological mechanism allows individuals to maintain self-esteem while acting against ethical standards. Cognitive dissonance explains why people often commit unethical acts without guilt. They reinterpret reality to align actions with self-image. This dark aspect of psychology highlights the human capacity for self-deception, showing that morality is negotiable when internal pressures demand justification. It affects relationships, workplaces, and societies where repeated rationalizations create cycles of harm and denial. Understanding cognitive dissonance is key to identifying manipulative behavior in oneself and others, revealing how easily humans can convince themselves that morally questionable actions are acceptable. This silent mechanism shows that people are not always aware of the darkness their minds can rationalize. Human memory is highly malleable and often deceives its owner. Memories aren't static recordings, but reconstructions influenced by emotions, biases, and suggestion. People may misremember events, distort facts, or even create false memories, sometimes with intense conviction. This has disturbing implications for eyewitness testimony, trauma recollection, and personal relationships, as even confident memories can be inaccurate. Psychological research shows that suggestion, stress, or repeated retelling can implant memories of events that never occurred. This unreliability reveals a darker side of cognition. Humans may unintentionally lie to themselves and others without realizing it. Memory can be manipulated, exploited, or weaponized, leading to false guilt, blame, or justice miscarriages. The fragility of memory underscores the precariousness of human perception and self-awareness. It is unsettling to consider that what we believe to be our most vivid experiences may be distortions, highlighting the mind's vulnerability to its own errors. Fear is one of the most potent tools of manipulation. Humans are wired to respond to threats instinctively, often bypassing rational thought. Authoritarian regimes, cult leaders, and con artists exploit fear to control behavior, induce compliance, and suppress dissent. Fear triggers survival instincts, stress hormones, and heightened vigilance, making individuals more suggestible and prone to follow commands, even against personal morals. This dark truth reveals that rationality is fragile when emotions dominate. People may act irrationally, betray allies, or participate in cruelty when manipulated by fear. In social or political contexts, fear-mongering can escalate collective panic, justify extreme actions, and normalize oppression. Understanding this psychological vulnerability is crucial for resisting manipulation. It also highlights the uncomfortable reality that human minds are not always autonomous. They can be coerced silently and subtly, demonstrating that the power of suggestion, amplified by fear, can override empathy, ethics, and reason. Humans can derive pleasure from others' suffering, a phenomenon known as schadenfreude. This dark aspect of psychology is surprisingly common, ranging from delight in competitors' misfortune to fascination with violence. Some people enjoy power over others or witness pain as a form of emotional gratification. Research shows that the brain can reward this behavior, releasing dopamine in response to perceived dominance or control. Sadistic tendencies aren't always extreme. They can manifest subtly in gossip, media consumption, or interpersonal conflicts. While culture and upbringing shape morality, the innate human potential for pleasure from another's suffering demonstrates the mind's darker instincts. Recognizing this capacity is unsettling but crucial, as it underlies bullying, exploitation, and cruelty. Even people who consider themselves empathetic may secretly experience minor schadenfreude, revealing that the human psyche contains shadow elements capable of deriving joy from harm. Humans have an alarming tendency to follow the crowd, even against their ethical judgment. Experiments like Ash's conformity study demonstrate that individuals will deny their own perceptions to match group consensus. Social pressure, fear of rejection, and desire for acceptance often override personal morals, causing people to act immorally. This can lead to collective wrongdoing, obedience to destructive authority, and participation in systemic injustice. Conformity shows that morality is not absolute but heavily influenced by social context. Ordinary individuals may perform unethical acts without intrinsic malice simply to align with group norms. Historical atrocities, mob violence, and workplace bullying illustrate this effect. Understanding the dark power of conformity is critical for fostering independent ethical reasoning, highlighting that social influence can silently erode morality and manipulate ordinary people into complicity with wrongdoing. Humans possess an innate drive toward self-interest, often unconsciously. The mind can rationalize selfish behavior to maintain a sense of morality, portraying self-serving actions as necessary or justified. This can include taking credit for others' work, prioritizing personal gain over relationships, or exploiting situations for personal benefit. People are rarely fully aware of these rationalizations, which allow them to feel moral despite causing harm. Self-interest underpins manipulation, deceit, and exploitation, demonstrating the mind's ability to justify dark impulses. Recognizing this mechanism is essential for understanding human behavior and ethical blind spots. While cooperation and empathy exist, the mind's capacity to excuse selfishness silently underlines the complexity and darkness inherent in human psychology. Exposure to violence, whether through media, games, or real-life experiences, can desensitize humans. Repeated contact dulls emotional responses, reducing empathy for suffering and normalizing harm. Soldiers, emergency workers, and frequent consumers of violent media may experience emotional numbing, enabling them to witness or commit acts that others find abhorrent. This adaptation, while protective, can also enable cruelty and moral disengagement. Desensitization is subtle and cumulative, making humans gradually more accepting of brutality. It explains why extreme violence can shock some but seem routine to others, revealing a dark capacity for indifference. Understanding this effect underscores the fragile balance between moral sensitivity and exposure, highlighting how context and repetition silently shape ethical perception and emotional response. Humans often project undesirable traits onto others, accusing them of behaviors or motives they themselves possess. Projection is a defense mechanism that shields the individual from confronting their own moral failings, aggression, or desires. This allows the mind to externalize guilt or darker impulses, creating conflict and mistrust in social interactions. By accusing others of dishonesty, cruelty, or malice, a person may deflect scrutiny from their own behavior. Projection silently distorts perception and amplifies interpersonal tension, showing that the mind can manipulate reality to protect itself. Recognizing this dark pattern is crucial for self-awareness, as it reveals how humans can unconsciously attribute their inner darkness to the outside world, perpetuating cycles of misunderstanding, blame, and manipulation. Humans are prone to obsessive thinking, where fixation on a person, idea, or goal can override rational judgment. Obsession drives behaviors that ignore consequences, social norms, or personal safety. It can manifest in extreme cases as stalking, hoarding, or compulsive routines. Obsessive thoughts hijack attention and decision-making, prioritizing the fixation above reason. This psychological vulnerability demonstrates how emotions and compulsion can dominate cognition, leading to destructive or harmful actions. Even intelligent, logical individuals are susceptible when obsession triggers survival instincts or emotional reward pathways. The dark side of obsession lies in its silent influence. It can make people act against moral or practical considerations without conscious recognition. Understanding this tendency highlights how subtle mental patterns can dominate behavior, revealing the dangerous power of focused yet irrational fixation. Under stress, threat, or strong emotion, the human brain can rationalize aggression. Neural and hormonal responses like adrenaline spikes prepare the body for perceived danger, but also allow justification of violent acts. People may harm others while believing it is necessary, moral, or protective, even when alternatives exist. Historical and everyday examples show humans rationalize revenge, punishment, or self-preservation through this mechanism. The justification often occurs unconsciously, masking guilt or fear. This capacity illustrates a primal, dark aspect of human psychology. Under certain conditions, violence is normalized internally, regardless of societal rules. Recognizing this tendency is unsettling but critical for understanding human behavior, revealing how the mind silently negotiates morality, instinct, and self-preservation in ways that can justify harm to others.